Thank you for my pleasure, Councillor Walker. Yeah. Oh, Billy. Oh, shit, he needs to know. Someone should tell him. It's in that little room out there.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Sorry, it's just Steve.
Pardon?
It's just Steve.
Just Steve, okay. Okay, folks, let's get started because we do have this other meeting again. Water care to Steve for the delay, because I know this is a reasonably substantive update. There's a lot of activity, as you'll see from, if you've looked at the slides, with the water care projects, Herne Bay, St Mary's, Salisbury Reserve, Central Interceptor, North East Wastewater, Queen Street Wastewater, Moringi Bay Wastewater, I know about that one, Southwest Redoubt Road, Huya Water Treatment Plant, Iraqi Main. So there's a lot of activity that's been going on, and we'll come back to that one later. I think there's a really good presentation here that Steve's going to go through, and I think perhaps just before that we should acknowledge Steve, and certainly I know that the Water Care Services, through the Chief Executive, just asked for the acknowledgement that, just to announce that Steve is finishing up, has decided to retire. I hope you hope you're made aware of that, Steve.
Don't do that, please.
There's, after eight and a half years of dedicated service to water care, that will be happy. And the reason we're doing it at this meeting is because Steve we might not be one in March, so hence the one today. And certainly the Water Care Board has acknowledged Steve being a driving force behind the very significant infrastructure investment program that has been undertaken. Under Steve's leadership, the CapEx delivery has increased from around 300 million to over 1 billion a year, and their view is very strongly that Steve's impact on the organisation is, and I'm quoting here, immeasurable, and leaves behind a legacy of excellence that will be remembered for years to come. So certainly high words of praise from your contemporary, Steve, and from our part we certainly appreciate the contribution you have made at your time in water care. So having said that, over to you for the presentation.
Fantastic. Well, thank you very much for those words. I'll rip through the presentation. Now, how long have I got? Just so I know.
Yeah, just around about the 10-minute mark, a little bit over, Steve, would be great.
Right. So I will. I'll just touch on some of the key points, if that's okay with everyone, because there is a fair few slides in here, and as you'll see, we've got a lot of work on this. What you see here is only a small part of the overall portfolio that we deal with, but these are some of the more critical projects that we're currently delivering, or critical challenges we're currently working on. Just as a summary, and I think I put this up last time, where are we up to in our program? If you look at an infrastructure program, it's like a conveyor. You have an asset management plan, or an LTP, and an asset management plan, and you drop a parcel of projects onto a conveyor, and it starts with feasibility and business planning. So that's approval, optioneering and approval. It goes through to design, and then we construct it, then we hand it over to our operations team. Currently, we have $4.5 billion sitting in feasibility, so in the planning phase, and that's fairly typical for a program of our size. We've got 1.5 billion in design and another 1.3 in construction. So what you'll see is our program is increasing. That design value will increase over time, and the construction value will increase over time as well. But this is a kind of a measure of how a program of works, a large capital program of works, is progressing. And from the council's perspective or a shareholder's perspective, being able to see that, we are progressing through our program is important, and it's very important to us because it's a key measure for us. So we're really comfortable where we're up to. This year we're going to deliver over $1 billion worth of capital. As Dean Kimpton said, the dollars aren't a measure of whether you've actually delivered everything you said you're going to deliver, but it is a pretty good ready reckoner of how you're performing within a capital program. Moving on to the flood recovery, that continues. We're in that sort of second phase of completing the permanent fixes on a large number of projects, and then we'll move into what we're calling adaptation. I think it was a question last time I was here as well. Are we adapting our assets? Yes, we are. We haven't got there yet because we had to get through the first two phases first. First fix, second fix, and then move on to adaptation. So there are some assets that we will need to adapt to ensure that we don't have the damage that we had in the floods of last year. So this work just continues and will continue for a period of time. Not going to go through this. It's a lot less than we thought it was going to be. That's a positive. Right? When we initially looked at the floods and we made an estimate, we did make a fairly conservative estimate, let's be fair, and so we should. We didn't know what the damage was, but it's turning out to be significantly less than what we first thought it was. But it's still a lot of work. No, we'll keep all that. Thank you. Assets, upgrades and renewals. We split our program into three major components, our capital program, and I'm just going to talk about a capital program here. There's a component called our major projects, which are sort of 5 million and above, and up to typically 300 to 400 million. Anything over 300 to 400 million, 500 million, they're typically bespoke projects like the Central Interceptor. So it's a standalone project that is delivered in its own right outside our normal infrastructure program. Huia water treatment plant will be one of those coming up. Huia and the ancillary projects around it that we're going to roll up into a single project will be about $1 billion. So that'll sit outside our typical program. And then we have underneath those $5 million jobs, we have multiple projects, renewals and upgrade projects. And we call that asset upgrades and renewals. And that's a component of our capital program as well. We've just let contracts to deliver that work for the next 6 years to multiple parties. A successful campaign running RFPs or requests for proposals and tenders across the marketplace. We hit all our timeframes, which we always promised to do with tenders. Closed everything at the right time, got everyone signed up to these contracts before Christmas, which is what our target was. So the market responded really well to what we're doing. We're looking to give programs of work over long periods of time so that our contractors can invest in our assets so that we can keep delivering those smaller projects and those asset upgrades and renewals to Auckland. So really very, very happy with what we're doing here. And it's the next phase of our capital delivery. Already locking that in and having a planned, structured approach to renewals programs. Renewals are important, as you all know. Continuing to renew assets and investing in renewals of assets, and you'll see in the media across our nation where we haven't been doing that in a number of places, and we're not immune to that either, but we are determined to continue to deliver our renewals across our whole network. We have a Māori supplier business network associated with the asset upgrades and renewals as well. Successfully launched that in a Pōwhiri last week, and we've got an amazing traction, an amazing number of organisations that have stood up and said, yeah, we want to be involved, right? We're very good at what we do, we want to be involved, and now our job from Watercare's perspective is to enable them to network with our contracting database and network with them and secure future work for those organisations. It's something we've been really keen to do. We have a target associated with this as well, and we want to enable these organisations to tap into our significant infrastructure program. As I said, our job next is to get them in front of all our contractors and encourage their use, encourage our contractors to utilise these organisations to deliver our program for us. run through some project updates, and some of these I really will just skip through quite quickly. This one probably not. Herne Bay, St Mary's Bay wastewater upgrade. Why are we doing this project? Fundamentally doing it to clean the beaches up in that area. I think you're all aware of that, part of the Western Isthmus program, a significant program that we're running in parallel with Healthy Waters, and both of these organisations are working really well together to deliver for that whole Western Isthmus area to clean up our beaches. That's what we're doing this for. This project is made up of kind of two parts. One is an extension of the Central Interceptor, the blue line, from Grey Lynn through to Point Erin. And in the yellow line that heads off to the left is what we call Branch Sewer 5, and that's effectively a collector sewer that collects from the whole area through to Herne Bay, and it also connects up with St Mary's Bay networks as well. We are in the design of this now, so we're designing the Point Erin tunnel, and we're also designing the Herne Bay sewer as well. One of the things that you may have seen, or in fact I'm sure you would have seen in the media, we are going to a resource consent hearing around Salisbury Park. We've determined that the use of this park is essential for the delivery of this program, or the effective and efficient delivery of this program with the least disruption to the community. And we have had some people, organisations or people have challenged that, and so we're going to a resource management hearing on the 20th of this month to be heard, as will the other parties be heard as well, which is within both our rights to do. So that will continue until you'll likely may see some more media activity on this as councillors or as citizens of ratepayers of Auckland, but we are in a process, and that process will come to a conclusion after the Resource Management Act resource hearing. The Central Interceptor celebrated Christmas. See Father Christmas there and an elf by the look of it. Right, down the tunnel. I'm not sure whether that's where they normally come from, but they did this year. They did last year. Look, the project continues, and it's continuing really well. Pardon? Morris, I can't comment. We've now got past May Road and heading towards Grey Lynn, and by the end of this year we'll look to liven up or commission up that southern section through to Mangere Bridge. So that's to be a significant milestone for this project, and it keeps hitting its straps. This project, it is a significant infrastructure project. In excess of $1 billion, and is operating and is going really well and is well run. The Northeast Wastewater Scheme in Warkworth, I talked about this last time. It's made up of a new wastewater treatment plant at Snells Beach, a connecting tunnel from Warkworth through to Snells Beach wastewater treatment plant, a already completed outfall from Snells LG's outfall, a new pump station at one of the parks in Warkworth as well, Lucy Moore Park in Warkworth. Project's going really well, the tunnelling is going well, the outfall is complete, as I said. The Snells Beach wastewater treatment plant's a challenging project. It's a large treatment plant, one of the largest treatment plants to be built in New Zealand for a long time. It's just a challenging configuration. So we it's going well for us, but we are pushing our timeline on that. It's just a picture of one of the later pictures of where it's up to. So one of the challenging features of this project is it's a long, narrow site, where typically a treatment plant would be more of a condensed site and a lot easier to connect everything up. But that's just the intricacies of the land that we had available for this particular site. But it is the delivery of this is trucking along pretty well, and we're looking to complete in May, slightly behind schedule. And that's the transfer pipeline. Nothing really to say in there, except it's to the maximum depth. I think it's about 70 metres, so it's a long way under the ground. It's the third pipeline of this technique that we've delivered. And so we've delivered pipeline after pipeline after pipeline, which is part of a program and what we're wanting to do with our program. And it's one of the fascinating things about the work that our contractor and ourselves have done on this. We've created new world records in driving pipe of this size and this depth. World record and international records, won international awards for it, and also the contractor on this particular project now is advising one of the world's leading tunnelling equipment specialists because of the amount of work they've done in this area. So it's really put New Zealand on the map with respect to tunnelling.
Should have done light rail.
Not too late. Just a photo of it. The team there, really proud of that team. They, the McConnell Dell team, they've just done some really stunning work on this project, and so have the water care team who support them. Queen Street wastewater diversion, a really challenging project in Queen Street. We're working with the Midtown team to ensure that we get this project done and completed and out of there, so in line with CRL. It's challenging because of the congestion, the traffic and everything associated with Queen Street, of course, but the other is all the utilities that are in that area as well. It's heavy, a lot of underground services, so we're having to do a lot of it in ground investigation. But it's going to plan, and we're really comfortable that we'll be hitting our timeframes on this project. But it is a very challenging and technically very challenging project. Mairangi Bay, nearly complete, 97% complete. That will support, reduce overflows in that area, and also support some growth in the area as well. The local stakeholders and community in there have been really supportive on this project. A bit of a challenge at the beginning because of where we were building it, but as we've been building it, certainly the local community has been really supportive of what we're doing. Very similar to what we heard from AT. We do get a lot of stakeholder support around our projects. It's amazing how many people come out and give people cups of tea and muffins and really support the work that we're doing, to support the city. The Southwest scheme, that's getting underway. What are we doing there? We're connecting up Kingseat. We're building a new wastewater treatment plant. We're moving the Waiuku treatment plant through to Glenbrook, connecting that up, and then we have a discharge just by Clark's Beach there, further up closer to the Manukau Harbour. The current discharge is down by Waiuku, so we have a consent to discharge further up. So that project is moving along, and we're in the middle of a hearing right now on that project, on the construction consent hearing for that project. It's happening as we speak. The Redoubt Road Reservoir, really proud of this project. Has been completed, pretty much, well, on budget. It is there mainly to support resilience for Auckland. That's what reservoirs typically do. It's big, 46 million litres. It's the third reservoir there, and we have another one planned as well on that Redoubt Road site. So 80% of Auckland's water, 75% of Auckland's water go through these reservoirs, so they're a particularly important site that we have resilience up there, and we have very robust assets sitting in that particular location. The Huia Water Treatment Plant, we have successfully gained our construction consent just before Christmas. And for the Huia plant, that's been a long, drawn-out process. Started in 2017, I understand, and has just concluded last year. And now that means we can now get on to design and construction of this project. We've made a decision, our procurement strategy for this, and as I mentioned earlier, it's one of our larger bespoke projects, so it'll sit outside our normal program and have its own team and its own, generate its own business running that project. A challenging project where it is, right? It's up in the Waitaks. It's got access problems because of the roads up there, and we will be working very closely with the selected contractors and selected designers to minimise the disruption to the community. One of the drivers in that project will be to prefabricate as much as possible right? So that we can reduce the amount of traffic and transport that's going, backwards and forwards up and down those roads. And so that is going to be a challenging project, but an absolutely necessary project. That treatment plant is old; it's beyond its use-by date. We're able to keep it operating, as you know, but it does need replacement, and we really need to get underway and get this treatment plant replaced. And lastly, I recommend sewer repair. You've all heard about this, right? It's been a challenging time for water care. We don't like having discharges into the environment. It's something that we work really hard not to do, and particular discharges to this size. We, turned our minds to this, this emergency, which is really what it was, and built a bypass, and our operations team did a stunning job of putting together some bypass pumping, some of the biggest bypass pumping that's ever been put in place in this country, in a record time. So that's all in place at the moment. We now have got some of the the liners for the sewer, for upgrade that sewer, have now have arrived in New Zealand. They were fabricated in Dubai, and we'll be starting to put those in place very soon. So that will continue, and that will look to strengthen and complete, I guess, our repair work on that sewer. We are looking to extend some of that repair work while we're there. We take the opportunity to extend some of the repair work further than what we need just for the repair of the particular location that the sinkhole came into existence, and that will help us to I guess build some resilience into that asset as well. We'd always planned to reline it, but this has given us an opportunity to get in there now and do some work while we're doing the repair. So that will continue to keep you updated on progress on this particular project, so you understand where it's at and where we've got to. And I think that's about it for me. Hopefully I've hit my time.
Yes, thank you, Steve. There's a lot of projects across a lot of the region. Very impressive, the work that's going on there, particularly up there in Snells Beach. Councillor Sayers must have been out doing a couple of shifts over the Christmas period, I think, yeah. Okay, we'll open it up for questions now. Councillor Ferry.
Thank you, and really appreciate that. Really useful report. What I was curious to know about is, you mentioned the Central Interceptor project, a lot of the parks in particular that are being used for access points and work sites run through the Albert Eden Puketapapa ward. And my experience over the several years that work's been ongoing is that the comms and engagement from the Central Interceptor team has improved and improved, and got to a point where I think it's a bit of a model for other parts of the council family. So is there any work happening there to sort of share some of those ideas and systems? Noting the Central Interceptor, of course, has a massive budget, far greater than many of the other projects that council runs. So, how can we learn from that, and are those conversations happening with other parts of the council whānau? Thank you.
So the answer is yes, we are, and we do have recognised the work that the Central Interceptor team have done. Our stakeholder team is modelled for the rest of our project, is modelled on how the Central Interceptor have improved on their stakeholder management. But look, I really do appreciate the fact that you've called it out. They have done a stunningly good job in stakeholder management, and some of their sites and in the reserves and the areas that they've been building have been really difficult. Right, they're big sites with a lot of equipment, a lot of machinery, and the local community's been very, very supportive of what they were doing, and a lot of that is down to the comms and the stakeholder engagement. And I think that the community understand why we're there. And I think as soon as once we all understand that, it's easy to accept there may be a wee bit of disruption. because it's very hard to build infrastructure without disruption.
No, thank you for that. I think one of the key elements there has been the recognition that there is not just the immediate neighbours or the immediate neighbourhood as an audience, but also the broader public. So, for example, the I forget what you call it, the engagement caravan or whatever it is, the mobile unit that moves around. You know, I've seen that down on the waterfront here and places like that. And so I'm particularly interested in how we can learn from those broader engagements as well, recognising the broader audience that we need to bring along for the story. So be interested to see where that goes next. Thank you.
Yeah, the same would apply for the communications in Morangi Bay too, has been very good, as Councillor Walker would attest. Member Brown.
Caught me typing there. Thank you, Mr. Chair. And thank you for that. Being a statutory board member, I can't help but want to commend you on your Māori supplier business network. Not only the commitment, but the metrics. Your commitment to use Māori-owned businesses will, I guess, normalise for our rangatahi industries that may not be traditionally embraced. Sometimes all a business needs is the chance or an opportunity, foot in the door, to put our business acumen and skill sets to the test, as all too often the larger default choice household name companies snaffle up these contracts. The challenge, I guess, is for others within the council family to do the same. It's sort of like the telethon. We will pledge X amount and we challenge all others to do the same. So I really want to applaud you for that and the team. Māori actually own the Hunua Falls and substantial land parcels within the Hunua, and this is a direct, tangible benefit for those Māori communities. So I just really wanted to mention that. Thank you.
Yeah, great feedback, Member Brown. Councillor Hills.
Kia ora, thank you. Thanks very much for the update, and just want to acknowledge a big project now, Ward 2, the $22 million Kahika pipeline, which has been phenomenal. We're months ahead, and although people haven't liked a road closed for a whole year, a significant road, Kapariki Road, but actually that pipeline is going to make a massive difference to the waterway and also the future growth. So just want to commend the team there. On smaller issues, like we do see the big ones, how are we, and you may not have the data on things like the resilience for the pump stations in case we have the flood. I know we're looking to, what do they call, swimming pool them or something, bathtub them, and the leak detection. So obviously the ground is finally, after 2 years, starting to get dry, so we're going to get those massive leaks again. How much are we putting into that proactive work at the moment when that starts popping up again?
Answering, I think there's two things there. One about adaptation of those assets that were inundated during the floods. That's part of the next phase of our delivery of our flood response, which is to design in resilience for those assets. A number of those assets you can't move. I mean, they're stuck where they are. So yeah, we may just build water around them. So that's one solution, bunds around them. We have been lifting all the electrical kit up above where likely flood levels are, and so that will absolutely make a difference. So that's just ongoing. Leak detection just continues for us as a business. It's bread and butter for our operational team now. We have a group inside our operations team that's what they do. They look for leaks, manage leaks, predicting leaks, and then we have our contractors and our internal contracting team that respond to either a leak when it happens or looking to put in new assets to reduce leaks. So that just continues. By way of a note, our leak percentage at the moment is, I believe, 11%, somewhere around 11%. That's getting to the point of the economic level of leaks. You're starting to push it even harder. It just starts to get exponentially more expensive, and there's no financial or economic gain for doing that. A 1% decrease in leaks doesn't make an enormous difference to our capital program. It may push something out by a year or two, right, which doesn't make a massive difference to our program. So we're actually at a level where our leaks are very, very low.
Yes,
on a global scale.
I was going to mention that. So Amanda has been working with Councillor Dalton and I on the water strategy and the drought strategy before Christmas. So just wanted to acknowledge the team also on that. Is that work? I think we were complaining about 14% during the drought. So to get to 11 with a lower base, when Wellington sadly is at about 46%, I think is pretty phenomenal. So thanks, and that's good to hear that work can ramp up as the ground hardens. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Simpson, final question. Okay, so, Councillor Lee.
Thank you very much. In regard to the Ōrākei sewer line at Parnell, has there been any progress on Watercare's investigations into the cause of that and information coming from local residents that a construction activity adjacent, including boring a hole, may have had something to do with it? Are you making any progress on that investigation in order to hopefully extract some compensation if it's founded?
So yes, we have made progress on the investigation. We commissioned an investigation just after the incident happened, as you'd expect us to. That investigation has landed, so just recently it's landed, and it's come to us as a draft, and we're reviewing that right now. That will be released once it's reviewed, and so because that's what we promised we'll do. So we will release that investigation. So, but I can't comment on it right now until we've completed our review.
Just another question, another local matter, I guess. I'm getting a lot of complaints from Huon Bay about the sequestration of Salisbury Park for essential activities, really. However, as you would know, there's a school of thought that feels that a depot next to the Harbour Bridge would be adequate, but obviously that's not expert opinion. The other concern is that you may end up doing an AT and the job may last a lot longer than originally scheduled. So I had spending a lot of time dealing with neighbours on this one. I understand though that the nearest neighbour, being the Petanque Club, has an understanding that you may make available for events some car parking space. Is that correct?
I'm not.
You don't know?
I actually don't know, so I'm not over that detail. So.
Okay, that'll probably come out in the hearing.
I can come back to you with an answer to that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Mayor Brown.
Oh, sorry, mine was about Salisbury Reserve too, from the same thing. Is there somebody you can put me in touch? A group of people want me to go down and look at it and look at an alternative site. I have no idea whether the other one's any good or not, but is there a person you could put to join us who might be able to add some sense to what is becoming slightly emotional?
Absolutely, yeah. So look, I'll suggest just get in touch with myself, and we'll organise someone to be with you. Yep.
All right, so we have a recommendation before us, moved by Councillor Simpson. Do I have a seconder? By Councillor Ferry. Thank you, Steve, for your presentation. Councillor Simpson want to speak to the item.
Thanks, Chair. Look, just briefly, I'm not going to comment on any particular project because I think you've got a handle on pretty much all of them. You know, someone who can do 61 projects under construction, 61 in design and 106 in feasibility, totalling 7.3 billion, communicating well with the councillors and I'm sure the local boards is something to be congratulated. So I just wanted to put a positive end to it, Mr. Chair. You know, I know that the ones that happen in my patch, you're very interactive with me. Your people talk to me, email me all the time, and I'm hearing that from the likes of Greg, and yourself, Chair, and others across the region. So it's not unique to one part of Auckland. So I also think that your programming is right across the region, and that just really gives us confidence that you're investing big time in the resilience of our city. So thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Simpson. It's been moved and seconded. All those in favour? Aye. Against? Carried. Thanks, Steve, and all the best if we don't see you before April. And just as Steve retires, I just asked Barry to say something about some water care related site visits. Barry's very keen to get councillors out looking at projects, whether they're transport or water care related ones. A number of people have already been through the City Rail Link, so we have a program. We cater for whoever turns up, but Barry's got a bit of just a quick review of what's happening.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Steve, as well. We've got two site visits organised. 4th of March is the Huia water treatment plant, which Steve spoke about, so a really important one to see that. It's close to where we live, so I'm quite keen to go on that one. And 26th of Feb is Central Interceptor. So we've got those, they'll be in your diary. Encourage councillors to come along and join those site visits.
And certainly anyone that's been on the City Rail Link one, seeing is believing. When we actually see the scale of some of these things, you're certainly the better for it. So one final item to go. It's a pretty much pro forma one, hopefully. Item 10 was a summary of transport and infrastructure information memoranda. Moved by Councillor Walker, seconded by Councillor Simpson. No questions. All those in favour? Aye. Against? Carried. That brings to an end the meeting. A little bit over time, but Mayor Brown, you've got your extraordinary meeting now, so I'll vacate the chair. Thank everyone for their help today. Marta, Duncan, Barry, thanks very much.
Thanks, John.